Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Post Conference Presser for Anfield Index. It is just over 24 hours until the second leg, isn't it, at Anfield? Liverpool will play PSG, returning to Anfield with a 1-0 advantage for this second game. 8 p.m. Tuesday, 11th of March. Under the lights at Anfield is guaranteed to be a breakneck tie with unbelievable excitement. It's almost impossible not to say how important it feels that we've almost parked a little bit, haven't we? The domestic side and everything along those lines that is in the league, sorry, I should say. This is now about cups and everything around Europe. It is hard not to be riveted and excited by this one. I'm really looking forward to it. Try not to drool on a podcast here. I'm your normal host, Dave Davis, coming to you from a cold and windy Edinburgh, but looking forward to this one very much. Now, it's a European press conference, people, isn't it? So what does that mean? That means there was a player put up as well as Arne Slot. So Diogo Jota was the man who was put forward. Now, I don't think you can read too much into this. So the reason I'm saying that is if you think previously, it was Endo, wasn't it? He was put up in the first leg and played a few minutes. So it doesn't really mean Diogo Jota's starting as it would do previously, but he had a few things to say, Diogo Jota. Welcome to anyone that's joining us on YouTube, Facebook. I know there are a few Twitter X issues today, whatever you call it. So apologies if you're not getting me on that. But let's get into it, shall we? Let's go straight into what Diogo Jota said, the questions he was asked, and the things that he referred to. Now, one of the things that is worth mentioning is, and shout out to Mighty Mojo here, Mo Stewart from the Anfield Wrap, who had a great question and referenced a stat at the same time. Diogo Jota hasn't scored in the Champions League. I think it was the knockout stages for about 4 years. I mean, that's crazy, isn't it, when you think about it? But there you go, as it is. Diogo Jota, hopefully, and maybe he smiled at this with a bit of a wry smile. Maybe that might just give him a little fire in the belly for tomorrow night. So good question there from Mo Stewart. Shout out to Mighty Mojo. But this was the first one he's asked about how his season's gone and everything. He said, it's been a difficult season for me. I had a few complications over the season. In the last few months, I don't feel I am at my best. I will try to get there and I will do my best. It's been a difficult little period for Jota, hasn't it? I mean, it would have been a difficult game for anyone, any striker in the first leg in Paris, trying to hold the ball up, all those things. So I'm not going to criticise him too much. But even when he came on at the weekend against Southampton, whether he's not fit, whatever it is, it's just not there for Diogo Jota at the moment. And it is a slight concern. Also, it's so stop-start. I mean, he comes back, he gets that equaliser against Forest, injured again. Comes back against Villa, makes the goal, injured again. You just worry how many times can his body keep doing this. That is the slight concern for Jota. And by the way, as I'm saying all this, I would absolutely love it if he rammed it down my throat tomorrow night and, has a blinder, if he starts, if he comes on, whatever it may be. Speaking of someone who has been brilliant, though, he was asked about Mo Salah and his form. He said, it's outstanding. I think at the moment, people almost stop counting. He is doing incredible things. In the end, we will see the final numbers. We know we can rely on him. We know we can rely on him too. I just like the feeling I'm getting around this because you see, L'Équipe gave him a 2 out of 10 in the first leg. You saw a lot of the French journos writing him off almost after this one. Yeah, that Mo Salah, who's got the record, for overseas players in the Premier League level with Sergio Aguero, that Mo Salah is breaking all records at the moment. That Mo Salah that just comes to life in these moments, doesn't he? So I am excited to see just how he reacts to all that recent criticism, shall we say, and how he plays. And shout out to John P there. How we all feeling at the top of the league? Magic, massively excited for this one, John. Intrigued in so many elements for this two-legged tie. But those were the two sort of big things from Diogo Jota. All the rest, and this isn't trying to be derogatory at all, it was kind of straight back that, yes, PSG have been a very difficult team to face. Yes, we're looking forward to it. Yes, we have to play well. But those were the two quotes from Jota really worth calling out. The quotes from the main man, as always. And again, I'd implore you to watch it, have a listen. Some brilliant stuff from Arne Slot in this one again. He was asked about PSG, and he was honest to say they are the most complete team we've faced so far. Of course, we played Arsenal, Real Madrid, Man City, but the quality PSG have, they have so much quality with a great coach. Later on, he actually went on to praise Luis Enrique a bit more, which we'll get into at the same time. But I think he's right. If you think we beat City 2-0 at Anfield, we beat Real Madrid, we've not been to the Bernabeu, so it is a slightly different assessment. I do accept anyone who would say that. The Parc des Princes, the Bernabeu, that those are two stadiums that you would be a bit not worried, but thinking, yeah, this could be a difficult game, as was proven the other week. But just in terms of what we faced, it's that front line, isn't it? Especially Barcola, rapid. Dembele, rapid. Kavicha, rapid and tricky, on both feet. Dembele, twisting inside and out. It was a nightmare. And also, even in that middle, it was impressive, wasn't it? Vitinha on the ball, Ruiz controlling it. Even others that came on, like Doué, that there's so much talent in this team. There's so much to, if you are a PSG fan, be happy about. But they haven't been to Anfield. Let's just see whether we change the rankings against those sides. But tomorrow will tell. He was also asked about that performance, and naturally people are fixated on how tough it was. The French media have been very boisterous despite the defeat, still as they were before the first leg as well. And Arne Slot was asked about, his Paris performance and what they thought. And he was honest and said, some people said we played poor. I do not agree. They played tremendously well, but I do think we can do better. We are a better team than we were last week. No doubts about that. It's a completely different game. There's absolutely zero doubt about that at all. The things that I would really stress, though, are I didn't think we played particularly well. We seemed to panic, and whether it was tiredness, struggling with the way PSG were pressing so aggressively man for man, I don't know. But I don't think we played particularly well. The man in shot, though, Alisson, unreal, wasn't he? Absolutely unreal. And here's the reason why we're still in this tie. I don't think you can debate that for one single second. So I wouldn't include everyone when we talk about playing poorly, but they did play tremendously well. Everything but the goal, which if you change the word slightly, it was a famous band in the 80s, in all honesty. But yeah, absolutely everything but the goal for them. Again, it's just another layer to why this is set up so beautifully for tomorrow. And I told you about how Arne Slot was praising of Luis Enrique, who is a character. He's quite forthright. He can almost be a little bit divisive for me at times. But what did Arne Slot say about him? He said, I enjoyed watching his Barcelona if they didn't play against us. Back then, he had Xavi and Iniesta. Now he has Vitinha and João Neves, lightning fast players up front and fullbacks who attack. They rotate a bit more, and that makes them even harder to play against. It's funny for Luis Enrique, almost since Le Petit Chat, Mbappe's gone and disappeared, he's got his stamp on the team, hasn't there? And especially those, they say, those middle two playmakers there, João Neves and Vitinha, they were brilliant against us. I know Neves misses that one. We probably should score. As you say, feeding into the quick wingers, the fullbacks like Hakimi, And also, Nuno Gomez was great at left back, wasn't he? I thought that was the best performance against Salah contributed to him. He was sensational. So it's so obvious why Arne Slot's going to praise them. Again, can they do it at Anfield under the lights? That is a different question altogether. And the only final thing to call out, which is a real positive, as Arne Slot told us, Cody Gakpo will be in the squad for tomorrow's game. We had an inkling, didn't we? Because he was in those open training photos earlier in the day, or the footage at 1:15. So we were hopeful, thinking, please don't just be one of those ones where he's in the warm-up and he's tricking us. And we were very, very lucky that he's here and in the squad. Just been so good for injuries, hasn't it, this season? A big shout out to Arne Slot and Ruben Peters for that, no doubts about it. So those were the best quotes, I would say, from the press conference there. If we think back to Southampton, as we always do, the last game and the clues, a few for me. If you switch off in the Premier League, even for a second, even against the worst team in the Premier League, it changes the game. You cannot drop your focus even 1 or 2% in this league. That's the intensity and the uniqueness of the Premier League for me. So I don't think and I'm not suggesting for 1 single second, it will be that way in this Champions League tie, but it's just a good reminder. And Arne Slot talked about it afterwards. You can tell he wasn't happy. He'll be telling these players, you cannot drop for 1 single second. End of story. Other clues that I took away as well, just a good reminder. It was a warm-up for Anfield. Quiet in the first half because the team were quiet in the first half. And the two go hand in hand, as I say, when it reaches that crescendo and it just almost forced teams into submission. We have seen it so many times. And with respect to teams with greater prestige and greater star power than PSG. So you hope it can do that. Like it warmed up to second half, I'll say, against Southampton on Saturday. It will need to go up a level, but as naturally you'd expect and hope the boys do at the same time. So that's my second biggest sort of clue from there. And the third one, Darwin Núñez absolutely thrives on chaos, doesn't he? They call him Captain Chaos. First half, quiet game, trying to break down a team, not really there. He has that sort of wild kick out, doesn't he? And I think it's Walker Peters. It's only a yellow for all the nonsense came. But the second half, when the chaos and everything builds, people call him Captain Chaos, Darwin Núñez. He actually reminds me of Bane from Batman. You know the guy, Tom Hardy, where he's got the mask on? It wouldn't surprise me if Darwin Núñez could play with the mask. It wouldn't surprise you that much. But almost that whole, like, you were created in the darkness. I was born into it. Not that Núñez could do an impression like that, don't get me wrong. But just that whole chaotic experience that you get with Darwin Núñez. And it's good to remember tomorrow, if it needs to build into a frenzy, it does get crazy, just remember what Darwin Núñez can offer in that regard. But yeah, those were the 3 big things I took away from Southampton. You kind of park it a little bit with a cup week coming up. We talk about PSG and their threats. And listen, you've seen them first leg, especially some of them key players. Dembele on 34 goal contributions. He terrorised us, didn't he, in that first leg? You know, he only played an hour on the weekend, so they tried to keep him a little bit fresh. Barcola, strangely, for a guy with 30 goal contributions, I actually thought Trent handled him quite well in Paris, forced him inside a lot, and he actually got taken off, didn't he, eventually? But I think he did okay on the weekend. He started for them as well. Ramos started, although it's not been a greatest time. Everyone also looks thinking, why is he higher in the rankings? Because he's only just gone over Kavicha, who didn't start this one at the weekend for them. But we saw in that first leg, I mean, I think the back of his toe or back of his heel, I think, was offside, wasn't it? for that first goal, but it was a lovely curler, a lovely finish into the bottom corner. So we need to be on it with him. No two ways about it. And then you think about how did they get on at the weekend like us? Well, Lille are a good team. Remember, we were quite tight against Lille and Jonathan David scored against us as well. They blitzed him. They absolutely blew them away. It was over and done by 37 minutes by half time. They were 4-0 up at half time. And the goal always doesn't matter, isn't it? The way I describe it from watching the highlights of this was remember when we blew away Ipswich, then they got the late header. That's the closest equivalent I can give you for this one. But you look who's on the score sheet. Barcola, who only played an hour or so. Dembele, again, only played an hour. Doué, who came on. He looked lively. He had that shot, didn't he, which forced a brilliant save from Alisson. So he's another one to keep an eye on. This team is laden with attacking threats. They are in good form. The only interesting thing I'd say about the weekend, which I clocked as well, Luis Enrique said afterwards, after this Lille game, that there was a few talking about sort of anxiety and nerves around going to Anfield. So that played a part in his decision. So interesting. Just puts that little seed. I didn't mind hearing that for one single second, thinking, yeah, we get after these. We put them under serious pressure. Let's just see what can happen. Interesting there. Which brings us to the final bit, doesn't it, ladies and gents? The lineup, score, and the scorers for this one. This is one where you really are swithering. I think it's completely okay to say that. And it's difficult to judge exactly, isn't it? Is it? I don't know. If I think about it now, I'm thinking pack the midfield. And me and Bart's just did stat me up where we say PSG have such control in the midfield. You've got to negate that. You've got to stop Neves. You've got to stop Vitinha. So that plays a part. So maybe flooding the middle and four midfielders is the way to go for me, which is unusual. And it wouldn't surprise me if Arne Slot does not do this. I actually think some players are easy to pick and they completely pick themselves in this one. So, for instance, the back five's easy, isn't it? It's Alisson, Trent, VVD, Canate, and Robbo. I don't think anyone's got in debate in that. Costas played himself out. If anything, he played 45. I think that's easy to pick. I think it's Grav Mack and Szoboszlai. I think that's his strongest one. It's his go-to that way. I think he'll pick them. Salah, easy. Cody Gakpo is back in the squad, which is great news, but I don't think they'll risk him from the start with his little period out. So he's on the bench. So I think Luis Diaz is in there, which then brings it down to one single position. And interestingly, goal ratio said 9 of 22 goals for Jonathan David at Pens. But yeah, maybe it is a token one. Be interested to see what happens with him in the summer. But it didn't stop PSG absolutely brutalising them. But back to the lineup, it almost comes to one position for three players. And those three players are Darwin Núñez, Diogo Jota, and Curtis Jones. And you can make a case for all of these for me. I could say Darwin Núñez in form, great finish at the weekend. Pace can stretch PSG, maybe just forces them backwards a little bit. So I'll get that. I also then think Diogo Jota drop a little bit deeper. Can play almost as a 10, so to speak. So another option there, very possible. And also can be good between the sticks and maybe a bit of a different player to Núñez. I can make that argument. I can also make a serious argument for Curtis Jones, who, by the way, has been outstanding in Europe, was outstanding against Real Madrid in Europe, was outstanding against Leverkusen in Europe. In fact, a lot of Curtis Jones's attributes in terms of the way he retains possession, moves the ball, he's almost like a European midfield in that way, isn't he? Which is why I think he'll start. I think he will play all four midfielders, as in Grav Mack, Szoboszlai and Jones. I just wonder if he goes with the two false nines, as they call it, how 4-2-4, Diaz and Salah wide are alternating, and just focuses on packing that middle and controlling the game. That is, and it wouldn't surprise me if there's Nunez or Jota in there, would not for 1 second, but that is my suspicion. Maybe you see it differently. Feel free to throw your comments about who you feel are starting. Goal ratio there as well, saying, yeah, it's great to feel good about the league. Tomorrow is a different story. It really is. It might even in one way be the toughest game. There'll be a slight bit of apprehension, but excitement under the lights at Anfield. You just know we'll bring it. It will just have to be a wall of sound that absolutely crushes PSG. That is what we are going for tomorrow night. Which brings me to the final bit, doesn't it? Scoreline and scorers. I'm hoping there's no extra time because obviously there's a Carabao Cup final coming as well for the weekend. I'm going to go 2-1 for us. And however it gets divvied up, Mo Salah to ram the words of the Paris journalists back down their throat and carry us through to a quarter final. That's why I'm going 2-1 Mo Salah to do the business for us. You may agree, you may disagree. You have only got about 24 hours to wait to see if that's the case. It's exciting, isn't it? These are the big games we wanted. Hard to know what will happen. John P there going 2-1. Thinks it'll be Salah and Gakpo and Kavicha Maradona on the score sheet. Would take that. As long as we're through, no extra time, no injuries, that would be the ultimate that you're looking for. But we will have to see. But there we go, ladies and gents. On a night where Luis Enrique and Kavicha kept Diogo Jota and Arne Slot waiting for 15 minutes. Is it mind games? Was it a tactic? Who knows? However you dress it up, let's just hope they pay for it tomorrow night. And on Monday, the 10th of March, that, ladies and gents, was another post-conference presser for Anfield Index.